Hey guys, welcome back to the Magfed Ranch Paintball channel, and today I'm going to be doing a tabletop review of the Hawke XB1 Variable Speed Crossbow Scope. But before we get into it, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, share, and comment, okay? Let's get into it. So guys, the Hawke XB1 Variable Speed Crossbow Scope, in my mind, is one of the best scopes out there for paintball markers, and specifically first strike firing compatible paintball markers. And the reason for that is because, if you're not aware already, and a lot of people don't know this, the first strike rounds flight trajectory, like its drop and everything like that, and its speed, right? Because these paintball markers are limited to 300 feet per second or below. It resembles very similar to a crossbow bolt, right? And so once you dial in the crossbow scopes, and the reticle and the different distances, your first strike round will pretty much follow that same path, okay? But real quick, the Hawke XB1 is a 1.5 to 5, so that's the magnification power, right? 1.5 to 5 by 32, so it's a 32 millimeter tube crossbow scope. Now, real quick, let's just kind of go over with what the scope is included with. So it comes with, obviously, the packaging, a set of instructions, a cloth, wiping cloth. Now, the Hawke XB scope, I'll be honest with you guys, is definitely one of the clearer crossbow scopes glass out there. So compared to all the other scopes, and I'll do a review on the other ones as well, it's by, not by far, but for sure it's got the cleanest, like the clearest glass. And it's also just built very solidly. You can tell how well it's built. But its price point is a little bit higher than some of the other, or most of the other crossbow scopes. For example, I think this one you can find it online for right around $200. So, not a bad price for scope. Like I was telling you guys, obviously Magfed paintball can really get expensive. And so, I'm gonna try my best to give you guys good, solid reviews of like high quality items that aren't gonna break the bank, but of course are still durable, still quality enough to play with your paintball markers and not going to, fail on you guys, okay? But yeah, it doesn't come, even at that price, unfortunately, it doesn't come with scope mounts. Okay, so that's kind of one of the downsides of the Hawke XB1, or some of the Hawke scopes in general. And so you will have to pick up a set of scope rings. These ones I'm using are these throw lever rings, which I really like, because you can literally just take it on and off when you want to. But of course, you can get the fixed screw ones as well. So, with a set of rings, some decent rings is going to run you like $30 or $40. Now, don't get me wrong, guys, there's definitely some more affordable rings out there. But once again, one of the areas that I highly recommend that you guys don't cheapen out on is the scope mount, and anything that has to do with it, because that is going to be kind of where it's going to either last or doesn't last, hold zero or don't hold zero. Last thing you want to do is, go play, and then whatever you sighted in on the weekend, to make sure that your paintball marker was, shooting laser beams with the first strike rounds, you get onto the field and now it's all off because the zero didn't hold. So I definitely wouldn't suggest cheapening out on the optics, okay? But like I said, for $200, another $30-40 for the mounts, that ain't too bad. We're not talking a $500 aim point, right? Or freaking God forbid, like $1,000 something, $1,500, like actual LPVO for like a real rifle, right? They do come with the cap covers, so the scope does come with cap covers, and it does come with a magnification / speed adjustment right here ring, okay? Let's go over that real quick, because that's kind of one of the misconceptions, I guess, if you will, of crossbow scopes. So even though this scope is a variable speed crossbow, a scope, it is designed for a specific feet per second. So in that sense, it's technically not variable speed, okay? because once you dial in your zero, and like I told you guys before, you know, we dial all our zeros in at 20 yards. There's a good reason for that. Not only is because the iron sights typically zero in at 20 yards, but because these crossbow scopes are zeroed in at 20 yards. And then of course every line below, you know, for the 20 yards, so like the 30 yards, every 10 yard you know, reticle line, you know, bolt dropping compensating line, it equates for that distance and for that drop of the first strike round as well. Okay, so the 20 yard zero is going to be done at the feet per second adjustment here. So unfortunately for us, that's going to be right around, you know, 300 feet per second, right? You know, 290, 300 feet per second. And on this particular scope, the 300 feet per second is going to be about a 2 to 2.3 by magnification. So right a hair above 2 by magnification, which isn't bad, guys, for, you know, for distances out to 100 yards or beyond, you know, like 100 to 150. 2 times magnification is plenty. But like I said, just don't think you're not going to be able to use the 5x magnification per se if you're going to want to use the BDC reticle that's in the scope, right? So that reticle is not going to follow the drop correctly if you use the different magnification feet per settings, okay? Also, this is a second focal plane scope, so it's not a first focal plane, so meaning that, you know, the magnification, the reticle is not going to change with the magnification. So pros and cons, right? I'm not going to do this video about the difference between second and first focal plane, but the pro is that you get a very clean reticle. It doesn't matter, you know, what distance you're sighting it in at. But of course, like I said, the reticle is not going to match that distance, you know, at the different distance, except for the distance and feet per second that you zeroed, you know, your marker at, okay? Speaking about the reticle, I really love the reticle on this, this Hawke crossbow scope. It has 20 and then marks all the way up to 100 yards. Okay, so it's got crosshairs at 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and then it's got kind of like points, like in essence, kind of like an arrow point at 70, 80, 90, and 100. The eye relief on this scope isn't too bad. It's about 2.5 inches is what it says on the instructions, and so, you know, you're definitely going to want your eye right close to the eye box, but, you know, it's pretty close to the charging handle on your marker, but it's not too bad. It's not right up close to it, like let's say like an ACOG or something like that would be. So, you know, your eye relief isn't too bad on it. The illumination on this thing isn't too bad as well. You have both red and green illumination. The low settings, I'll be honest with you, aren't that bright, but, you know, at the highest setting, you can see it even in the daytime. And I really like that green light, by the way. It really pops during the daytime. You can really see it, you know, when you're sighting it in during the daytime. The adjustments, the elevation and the windage adjustments on the Hawke crossbow scope is another positive for it. It's very solid, and you can turn it by hand. You don't need any tools. So once you remove the covers for the elevation and windage adjustments, it'll have, you know, your adjustment clicks here for right or left, and it's a half MOA for each click, and they're very positive. You can very feel it, and you can hear it as well too. So it's a really well made scope for the price point. You don't get a lot of fog. I know that we play up here in the Northwest, and it can get kind of, you know, foggy and muggy up here, but the scope stays pretty clean. I will tell you guys that. Yeah, so same thing with elevation adjustment. This scope, I think, is a really good scope for like a DMM setup, so a designated marksman marker type setup, or even like a sniper setup, right? Because you got drop points all the way out to 100 yards. It doesn't have anything past that, but, you know, obviously if you wanted to take that 150 yard shot, this is kind of where the, you know, or past 100 yards, this is kind of where the adjustable riser will come into play. Okay. It does come with the battery as well too, to obviously be able to power up the illumination. So that comes included in the packaging. So one thing that I really love about the Crossbow scopes in general, but this particular model, just because of how well it's built, but one thing I like about the scopes versus a red dot is that you don't have to adjust for different distances as much, right? Whereas on the red dot, you might have to use the adjustable riser to dial in like a 50-yard, 70 or 80-yard shot. On the scopes with the Reticle BDC, you can literally just do the correct holds, and the FSR will go out and shoot out to that distance. You know, I've tested it. We'll shoot another video where we demonstrate that to you guys, but in all my testing of all the scopes, if you zeroed it in correctly with the right feet per second, you can just do the correct holdover, and the first strike rounds will hit out to that distance, the correct distance. And so, you know, it's just gonna save you that time from having to make another adjustment on the field. You can literally shoot a target at 20 yards, and then if you need to hit a target at 50 or eliminate somebody at 70, you can just do the correct holds, and you'll know you'll be pretty much, you know, right on the money with those holds. Okay, guys? So guys, that was a tabletop review of the Hawke XB1. Thank you so much. Like I said, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, and we'll see you guys on the next video.